Hey everyone, someone has asked in the comments for a bit of a trade recap. Just so I figured let's just cover off a couple of trades that we did this week. So first, I started on the weekly time frame, and then I found the true trend. So there's videos on exactly how the rules around cycling a trend, but so I won't go too much into it. But we're starting all the way back here in 2021, and then we find that that's our anchor point. That is just a liquidity sweep for a dump, and that is a bigger liquidity sweep for a bigger dump. So then we take our trend from there to there, and have our break there, and there, and there. Okay, so this is pretty much where we're sitting. And first thing I would look at is I would look at this hold level down here, and I'd say the price quite hasn't quite entered it. So I'd be looking to take a long if the price went into that. Would be definitely an option. Need to find our underside trend. So that's there, there, there. Got to zoom in on that little candle, make sure it's free of the trend line. Let's see. And there, there, there. Okay. So now we go interior trend, there to there. Okay. And next interior, there to there. Okay, so we're going to start going parabolic now. These are the various stages of parabolic. I can never say that right. You know what I mean. So it goes there to there. Right, so I could run another interior to here, but I can already see we started to lose this trend anyway, so take that, move it to there. And again, we're here, now we're here. Now we're here. What's next? Next is down here. Cool. And there's our sweep of trend liquidity, and then we moved up, so that's when we start to go more parabolic off this trend. It's there, there, there. Okay, there's our weekly. Okay, so first problem, this weekly trend's in the way. So if you wanted to, you just long. Just right now, you just open a long, and you target there. Okay, so that's just keeping an eye on whether it hits that trend first. But there's your first trade. So just purely based on we've entered the trend, you'd have your stop loss here below the range. It's pretty unlikely it can get below that range because it's protected by the hold level, it's protected by the trend. If you wanted to be really conservative, you'd put your stop loss down under here. And you'd be looking like from a stop loss down on, well, just under this yellow candle here actually, but from a stop loss under there with a trade back up to there, you'd be looking at a 1-to-1. So it's not a huge right home trade about, but it's a very safe trade. And there's also ways to get out of that trade if it bounces this hold level. So that's your first trade, is going to be in this range here on the weekly. And yeah, you're kind of a bit late to the party. Probably should have opened half the position on the trend and left half if it had dived that. But whatever. Sometimes you're not just perfectly looking at the chart at exactly the right time. So now we go ahead, and it can take a bit of time to play out because so that's it hitting the trend. And that's why I sort of say you target the hold level, but you just got to be careful because the trend might protect the hold level, just like down here, the trend protected the hold level. So you TP some there and see if it goes up, because it should get to that hold level. It really should, because trends target holds, holds target trends. There we go. So TP done. Now we want to look for another trade, but at this stage, really all it would be is a trade probably back to the trend at most. It's not going to get to the hold level, I don't think, not bouncing off that. So what we might do is let's switch to the daily and just see if there's anything that we can move this trend to, because it's spent a bit of time up here, which means there's probably a daily trend now on the outer edge. So let's see if we can do that. Of course we can, but it looks like the replay tool is it moved? Maybe. Okay, so we have a daily level and it's up here. So what do we got on the downside? We've got hold level on the daily here. We've got a hold level there, but it's been used. We've got one up there that will probably give a reaction. Okay, so now what we really need to see is we need to see, do we have a daily trend on the bottom side? So this is interesting. We don't have a daily trend on the bottom side, which means that the bottom side trend is definitely stronger than the top at the moment. So it means the ranges are shifting in an upwards direction. So with that in mind, we probably want to see if we can find a long. So let's see if we can find a long. So it could be this 169 level. If we get to that, it could be the trend, and we'd target this hold up here. So let's see how many stages we are. So we're 1, that's 2, so that's kind of 2 already because there's an interior break in there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So at this stage, it's pretty fair to say that this thing is, just gearing up to explode, because that is a distribution cycle and it is distributing upwards. So a distribution cycle should really be sideways or downwards, and that is distributing upwards. So from here, we're definitely looking for some kind of long. If we get to this, great. If not, probably just long if we break the trend. So that's convincing, straight through. So yeah, so that's really convincing. That thing's just going to go. So now that is a short I didn't take. And the reason I didn't take it is just because of that massive upwards accumulation. So it kind of had me a bit spooked. Also didn't like this, that this wick had nearly touched the hold level. Thought that's a little bit weird. Could it be just an issue around rounding? So I never took this short, but as you can see, the short played out. So shorting this hold candle back down to the 1618 would have been a trade you could have taken, not one I did. So now I'm looking to see if I can get some kind of entry down in here. Right, see if we can get a push up. And so if it comes back into this area, we're going along. And that's pretty close. There we go. Okay, so now we start building along from here, and what we're going to do is we're going to target this this level here. Okay, so this is an origin rejection level. We'll take TPs when we get to the trend, and if we dip further and this becomes a range, then we'll add to the position down on the trend, and we'll take TPs on the backside and the whole candles if it goes that way. So does so add on the trend, shoot up this part of your what you added down here, and your average is now through here. What you added here, you take out of there to bring your risk back into the same level. So that's you running into your whole candle, and you've taken that TP. but you've got a whole candle to the downside now. So now what we're looking at is we're looking at a minimum upside move back to 187 from 182. So based on that, you could add back in what you took out, or you could just keep it as it is without changing the risk, just in case it doesn't break out to the upside, because we do have some kind of moved interior trend. So wherever that might be, where is that? It can't go there, so it goes there. So yeah, so I don't think I added that back in at that stage because of this. I'm thinking we don't really want to risk that. I'd rather keep the risk lower. If it goes lower, then I'll put it back in. And of course, hey, not being greedy, but you still made money, right? So straight through. Now we've got this hold level here. So if we get a revisit anywhere below 187, we can target back to the 193. Okay. And you'd probably expect this because you're now running into your trend. So I think that was, there was a bigger move in play at that moment, which was a long, and we had resistance sitting up at 213. So I didn't short that. I thought we'd probably go up and hit that resistance. And that was because that sort of stopped quite short for almost theatrical reasons. Like this and this is to get people to short from up here. And we had that 3-week resistance up there. So I wasn't convinced that this is where it's going to stop, even though it actually had, a pretty decent reason just to reject back down to this one or to this one. But I thought maybe we'll get something a little bit higher out of it. So yeah, I didn't touch it at that point. And moving through, yeah, and that was where we opened short. But on the next candle, so what happens in this instance is, you might just forget this interior now, it's just a waste of time. This exterior daily relocates to that candle. Now what I looked at is, well, we've got a really clean hold level down here. We're right in between our trends. And we had that 13-week, 13, I keep saying 13. We had this. So we were going to run into this at some point. And we had that sort of theatrical setup here based on market sessions Tuesday and Thursday. So they're sort of pivot days. That's where they swap the trend back around after the weekend trap. And then Thursday is sort of about the last day where anything after Thursday, like Friday, is quite often just a trappy day. So the days that they set these up just seem to me like, oh, this is theatre. They're going to sweep that. So and we shifted this trend up to here. So this was the point where we're closing our longs and we're building shorts. And the key thing was to look at entering on the first touch of the relocated trend and look for 187 as your target, with the expectation you may get a non-sustainable bounce off the 191, the backside here, and also looking to make sure we close under this, and preferably even under this. And you may change your mind about whether you stay in the trade depending on whether you close above or below those levels. So the next candle hit the straight down to target. Yippee, that was our big dump. So knowing we had that really high time frame resistance sitting up there, knowing that they relocated the trend, knowing that they'd built a target for the price to go and hit, that was just a short. It was just, there's no way you don't take that short. Okay, but now we're back to longs again because we just hit this hold level. So now anywhere down in this area, we're going to look to build a long. Right, so risk management for these types of positions is basically to put stop losses under previous ranges. So in this case, your stop loss is just sitting down here under 75, 74. In this case, it's a bit tricky. You just sort of have to put it like whatever you think it's going to be. So let's say a 1-to-1, because that could have been quite a big sweep. So I just treated it as a 1-to-1 and basically just took the same distance I was expecting it to travel down, and I just put it to the upside. So runs it down, and now we want to see this candle reverse and preferably go up. It's also going to middle range trend, so you just want to be a little bit careful that it closes up inside that, because whenever it makes this trend, if the candle doesn't have a decent wick on the bottom of it, then again you might just want to close your trade, especially if it comes down flat and opens on the wrong side of that trend. So just keep an eye on that one. And oh, and there we are. Hey, look, and we've completed our long. So the next candle opened, it opened above the trend, it bounced off the trend, it targeted the hold. And now what we're doing right at this very moment is we're shorting this hold, and we're going to bring that down to, it seems to be working its way down there slowly, and we're going to bring that down to about 200. All right, so in this case, that's a single candle, a hold above a single candle, so that's not the true range. So what you do is you dial it down until you find the true range, which in this case is a 12-hour, and then you just shift your fib over to the 12-hour candle, and then that tells you to short it to 200, not 199.4, and that's trading. Hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea, even though it might be a really, really fast recap. So the reasons why all those trends are where they are, the reasons why the targets are what they are, everything like that's covered in some of the educational content that I've posted already. Failing that, jump in the Discord and have a chat to, there's people in there who know all this, and me occasionally. Yeah, so hope you enjoy. Catch you later.